Welcome to the February 15, 2024 meeting of the Delaware County Libraries Board. I would like to acknowledge that the December meeting was canceled due to unforeseen circumstances. So this is our first meeting since October. Before we get to public comment, I'm going to make a statement and then I will make a motion later on under old business, but I figure I believe that a lot of people are very interested in this topic, so I'm going to make the statement at the beginning of the meeting. At the October 2023 DCL board meeting, we voted to resume the requirement for in-person attendance on the part of the member library boards. This decision was made because we believe that member libraries would benefit from more interaction with each other and a way to communicate important things that they are doing at their libraries to this board and to other boards and to the county at large, because these meetings are available on YouTube. This was the procedure that was in place for the 12 years prior to COVID, and we felt that the interaction at those meetings was valuable. Back then, we also used to rotate the meetings among the libraries, and that was a nice thing. There's a gentleman here from Middletown Library, and I was able to see this really wonderful makerspace that they have at the Middletown Library. So, and it gives you ideas for what you want to do at your own library. We did reduce the commitment to only 5 meetings out of 6 at one point, in recognition of the fact that it is difficult to get here on a weeknight. But 5 meetings out of 6, we felt, most boards have 7 members, and it would be 1 meeting a year that you might come to. But one of the most important things is that communication between library boards and between us and the member library boards. And we have received some comments about, well, you have this great technology, this Zoom technology, and it's great. We can communicate that way, but we actually are legally barred from allowing member libraries to participate verbally via Zoom. So if anyone wants to make a comment, they have to come here and make the comment in person. There was a technical difficulty with the October meeting, which prevented the libraries from viewing our discussion until the next day. However, even if it could be viewed on that day, there would have been no way for people to make comments on it because they were on Zoom, and we are legally barred from allowing that. We had to cancel the December meeting, so we extended virtual attendance through this meeting so as to allow any libraries who wish to come and make a public statement the opportunity to do so today. So it's possible that some of you may want to make a public statement. We received some feedback on the decision, some of which was verbal and was positive and supportive of coming back in person. I did receive 6 letters from 5 different libraries, which requested us to reconsider the decision. Newtown Library Board wrote a particularly persuasive and respectful letter, so I'd like to recognize their effort. In general, the letters had some main objections to the in-person attendance and that were similar. Board members are volunteers who have very little free time to be able to come to meetings. Some board members might have physical disabilities, which would prevent them from taking a turn. It's a hassle to get here. I know that. I live pretty far away. And there are parking issues in Medium. In November, Jenny and I had an opportunity to talk with the consultants who are evaluating the library system. We talked about the need for the member library boards to have greater communication and interaction with the system and with each other. We explained how the current setup works and how it was developed. It was a good conversation, and they had some interesting ideas. The consultant's report is due out very shortly, and we anticipate there will be recommendations to improve the way DCL functions as a whole. Given that things may change later this year, I am going to recommend later on in the meeting that we table our decision to require in-person attendance by member libraries until the report is out and we can evaluate its impact along with the feedback received from the member libraries. I do encourage you to continue, the folks that are here, to continue to come in person, and the folks that are at home, I encourage you to come. I do think it is a good experience to come and meet other folks who care about libraries and might have ideas about how to do things. So, okay, so that's my statement. Does anybody want to make a public statement now on an item on the agenda? Okay, I do not see anybody coming forward. So the next item on the agenda are the minutes from the October 19 meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes as long as we correct Virginia Maroon's name? Her spelling is Maroun. So with that change, do I have a motion to accept the minutes of the October 19 meeting?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Communications and announcements, Kristen?
Good evening. The first item is the Library Services Director position. Sandy Garrison, Chief of Social Services and Community Programs, has put together an interview panel and is finalizing dates with the panel. And interviewees have been selected and interviews should be scheduled shortly for that. Next up is a public notice of the 2024 meetings. As required by the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act, DCL placed a legal notice in the Delaware County Times advertising the 2024 meeting dates, time, and location for the DCLB meetings. A copy of the notice was included in this packet. Next up is Black History Month celebrations. Once again this year, DCL has teamed up with Delaware County Council to celebrate Black History Month with a social media series featuring council members recommending a wide variety of books highlighting important figures in Black history. This year's project includes both videos and images and recommends children's, young adult, and adult titles. In addition to seeing posts on socials, you can find the recommendations on our website. Lastly, the bingo license renewal. The Library Foundation of Delaware County has once again sponsored a bingo license that covers all member libraries. The license was renewed on January 18th and is valid through January 19th, 2025. Member library staff can access the license on the DCL staff website as needed. And that's all I have for announcements and communications.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. So financial report for January 2024. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion.
A second? Does anybody have any questions about it or want to discuss it? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Administrators report, Annie?
Good evening, everybody. I have a variety of things to share with you tonight. First up, our state aid distribution. The 2024 distribution of state aid in the amount of $2,474,117.98 was received by DCL on February 6th. This is slightly later than in past years. DCL has submitted check requests to distribute aid to our qualified member libraries in the next county check run, which is scheduled for March 1st. So Those checks will come out to the libraries via the USPS. While we anticipated flat funding, there was actually a small increase of 1% due to the final language in the fiscal code. So libraries will see slightly more state aid than projected. And each library director did receive a notice this morning with the exact amount your library will be receiving. Any questions? Okay. The state library subsidy application and waiver applications. This is a carryover from back in October, but just to notify the board and our member libraries that we did receive notification on November 27th that DCL's SALSA was approved by the Office of Commonwealth Libraries, and member libraries also received their approvals on or around that same day. So everyone in the system is taken care of for that, as evidenced by the state aid being distributed now. Up next, the plan for state aid and county coordination aid plan. The DCL headquarters and all member libraries submitted their plans for state aid by the deadline back on December 1st. So a thank you to all the member libraries for completing their plans on time. In addition to the plans for state aid as the OCL designated entity that receives county coordination aid for Delaware County, the DCL headquarters was required to submit a plan for county aid. We anticipated the flat funding in the amount of $187,652. I forgot to add the 1%, so it is slightly more. These were my notes from last time before we knew about that. So we made the plan to use those funds, and it includes spending in areas of library resources and collections, technology, and library services. The plan was reviewed at the November directors meeting and then shared via email before it was submitted. So all the member library directors did have an opportunity to review it and provide any feedback that they might have. Any questions there?
I did have a question about the distribution of state aid.
Mm-hmm.
I know that for various reasons, one member library was not eligible for to receive state aid this year. Were the other member libraries notified that hopefully, they may be getting about an additional $1,000 each? And do they understand that will hopefully not recur because the other library will?
Right, yes. So we are hopeful that all the this year, all of the member libraries will qualify. We did, there are actually 3 libraries right now that have not submitted their audits. So those distributions are being held until the audits are submitted, but they are still eligible for them. And we are hopeful that all of them will be able to produce those audits and be able to distribute those as soon as the audits are received. But member library directors are certainly aware that it is unlikely that they'll get that extra distribution. And thank you for thinking of that, because now all of you are aware as well. Thank you. Okay, I will move on to the 2023 annual report. The annual report for reporting year 2023 opened on February 1st and is due no later than March 15th at 4 p.m. The Office of Commonwealth Libraries offered trainings for both new and veteran library directors and is also offering weekly virtual office hours to assist library directors in completing their report. DCL has created a page on their staff site with instructions, data, and FAQ. And of course, our staff are always available to assist directors as needed. As part of the process, member library board presidents and treasurers will be asked to sign the PA Public Library Data Survey signature page, confirming that all information being submitted is correct and truthful to the best of their knowledge. So for anyone who has not served in those roles in the past, be ready for your directors to ask for your signatures within the next few weeks. Questions, folks? Okay. District negotiated agreement modification. We approved the 23-24 district negotiated agreement many months ago, but as the district library center, DCL is statutorily required to provide ILL services to our member libraries, including the shipping of items. And we achieve this by using IDS, or Interdelivery Service of Pennsylvania, which is paid for out of our district negotiated agreement budget. Back in mid-December, IDS announced its 2024 members fee schedule. And while we had budgeted for a healthy 20% increase, the actual increase was 75%. So far exceeded what we had anticipated, which came as a huge shock to districts across the state. Even with that being said, IDS is still the most economical and efficient option for our ILL shipping. So this substantial increase did require that we modify the 23-24 district negotiated agreement, and the member libraries were asked to review that update and then sign a new member library endorsement, which a majority of the libraries did. That modified budget was then submitted and approved by the Office of Commonwealth Libraries, and the IDS contract was reviewed and approved by County Council in January, allowing for seamless continued ILL services. So we just want to make everybody aware of that change to the agreement budget. Okay. And lastly, the system-wide evaluation update. DCL has received the first draft of the system-wide evaluation report from Rethinking Libraries. That came at the end of January. The confidential draft of the executive summary and recommendations and individual reports for member libraries were shared to those library directors for review and comment on they were sent out on February 5th, and libraries have until tomorrow, February 16th, to provide consolidated feedback to Rethinking Libraries. In particular, we are asking each library to ensure that the information is factually correct. After the feedback period closes, Rethinking Libraries will work on a final report that we anticipated will be presented at the Public County Council meeting on Wednesday, March 20th at 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Any questions there?
Will the final report be circulated to this board?
Yes, absolutely. And I hope you'll be able to come on the 20th for the presentation as well, or tune in.
Okay.
It is live streamed, so you can watch it.
Will you be presenting?
The consultants will present. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Annie.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Annie. So new business, Kristen, automation policy.
So the automation policy met throughout 2023, and we reviewed the DCL automation policy. And this evening, I'm requesting that the DCL be approved the proposed changes. The draft policy was presented at the November directors meeting, and the directors unanimously recommended it for adoption. The proposed changes clarify things like language and align with current best practices. A few specific highlights are we cleaned up the language to be consistent throughout. For example, using the term item instead of book. And then we extended the circulation period for ILL materials from 30 days to 6 weeks, which aligns with other Pennsylvania libraries and the current needs due to our shipping constraints. And lastly, we added student ID as an acceptable form of ID for library card application. Oh, and the policy is included in this packet. Are there any questions?
I just had one, probably not good question, but the term ILL is used, and for those of us not
Oh,
necessarily familiar with, but
interlibrary
it's in the
loan.
policy as well. And I just wonder if it should be spelled out, at least in the first place it shows up in
Sure.
the policy. Because, you know, this looks like a policy that's kind of used, and people might not recognize what that stands for.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. Okay, the next item is the
Wait,
nominating.
we
committee.
need to actually pass the policy.
A motion.
Yes, sorry.
So I need a motion to approve the proposed updates to the DCL automation policy. Motions and, do I have a second? Second? Yep. Okay, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion passes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the nominating committee for 2024. And before I turn it over to Virginia, I'd just like to note that when we sit on this board, we apply to county council to be part of the board, and that's for a 3-year term. So if we choose to apply again, we have to submit again to county council and they have to approve it. So Karen and Jenny were up for their seats back in October, and they did apply for them and they were re-up. So they will be on the board for 3 more years. So Virginia?
The nominating committee, which is Helen, Doug, and myself, Virginia, communicated, and I'd like to put forward the following slate for president: Helen McGrain, vice president Doug Ferguson, secretary Jenny Schobat, and treasurer Inder Baines.
Okay, can I get a motion to approve the slate of officers as presented?
I make a motion.
A second? Second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, so old business, as I reviewed at the outset of this meeting, I'm going to make a motion. I move to table the decision to require member library board in-person attendance at DCL board meetings indefinitely. We will continue to allow member libraries to view the DCL meetings via Zoom until this board has a chance to review the consultant's recommendations. Member libraries must continue to have 1 or more board members view the meetings on Zoom or in person in order to meet DCL funding requirements until further notice by this board. If a member library wishes to make public comment, they must come and make the public comment in person. Do I have a motion to approve this motion? Do I have
You made the motion.
I'm in, okay, now I need a second. Yeah, sorry.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, public comments. So at this point in the agenda, you can either come up and make comments about what was said on the agenda, or if you would like to make any kind of statement about what's going on in your library or whatever. So would anybody like to make public comment? Okay.
I would just like to thank
Oh, yeah.
Middletown Free Library for sharing their annual report with us. It looks great.
It really does look great, yeah. Okay, so do I have a motion to adjourn? Second, all in favor? Aye. The next meeting is April 18th, 2024 at 6:30. If anybody does want to come in person, and if you are having issues with parking, we might be able to come up with a solution for you for parking. So let us know.
Yeah, I'll include some information about parking in the notice.